Hello and welcome to today's Infopedia web conference, where we'll be covering roles and responsibilities beyond Skype for business operations. We are broadcasting this web conference via Skype meeting broadcast, and the audio can be heard through your PC speakers. Today's web conference is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. If you do not consent to being a part of a recorded session, we ask you disconnect from your browser at this time. Attendees may access the web conference recording via a link that will be delivered within 72 hours post-conference. Now, we do have our Q&A panel enabled today. You may ask a question at any time by using the Q&A panel. It's either located to the right of your screen or just below your screen under the video pane. Our presenters will be taking your questions throughout the presentation and again at the end of the presentation during our formal Q&A period. If you experience any technical difficulties during today's web conference, first try refreshing your web browser by pressing the F5 key. If that does not work for you, you can click on the support link at the top right corner of your browser for additional tips. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And presenting for us today, we have Martin Readiness, who's a Senior Customer Engineering Architect here at Microsoft. Martin, you now have the floor.
Thanks, Ryan. Hello and welcome to this training, the roles and responsibilities beyond Skype for business operations. We talked about the requirement for a healthy deployment and happier users in an earlier session. This session is about the roles and responsibilities that are required to operate a Skype for business deployment, including those beyond the sheer Skype for business operations. Running a real-time service requires collaboration of various teams. This session will show you how to identify these teams and secure support for the tasks needed. Throughout this training, I'll be talking about the operational role mapping, which is really the concept and the asset behind the roles and responsibilities here. Real quick about me. My name is Martin Readiness, and I'm an architect on the customer experience and deployment team in the Skype for Business product group. I'm part of the team that develops the Skype for Business operations framework with a focus area of operations. This session is part of the wider Skype operations framework training. We encourage you to review the Skype operations framework overview recorded training. Let's recap on why we created the Skype operations framework and what it is. The shift to the cloud changes the way that Skype for Business is delivered, moving from on-premises deployments to online service deliveries. We have been asked to provide practical guidance to assist with planning, delivering, and operating Skype for Business online. We created the multifaceted approach of the Skype operations framework to provide that practical guidance and associated tools and assets, along with a common language of phases and stages to help drive a common understanding of the Skype for Business online lifecycle. To help folks get on board, we have the Skype Academy to host sessions like this one and also technical product training. And finally, we will have feedback mechanisms as well. SOF itself is a living framework. We are working on updates on a regular basis, so please visit our site regularly to get the latest material. As we said, SOF is a living framework, and we continue to work on updating assets and delivering new offers. Key to these updates is your feedback and input from you. So please visit the feedback site above or use the feedback link on the main site to access our feedback channels. We would love you to share your thoughts and ideas on what you'd like to see in future releases, what worked and what didn't work. The feedback channels are voting enabled, so if you like an idea already shared, then please vote them up to show your support. We also launched the SOF community as part of developing the multifaceted approach to SOF. The SOF team are looking forward to hearing from you on how you are applying SOF guidance to your projects and sharing lessons learned, so please sign up there and take part. As we're going to find out in today's session, SOF is a living and breathing framework for Skype for Business Online. We will be adding new content and working on updating delivered assets, resulting in both incremental updates and new major releases. We will be updating the training material to cover major updates, but we encourage you to always be working with the latest assets which may have been released since this session was recorded. So now on to today's session, roles and responsibilities beyond Skype for Business operations. Whenever I've done a deployment, one of my very first questions I've always asked my customers was, why do you want to deploy OCS or Lync or Skype for Business? I always try to challenge the customer, kind of to sell it back to me on why they want to implement the solution. The reason for that is that I'd like to understand the real driver for them, why they want to implement it. This always helped me to understand the business outcome that they're trying to achieve. The business outcome is really related to the engagement and help the customer to realize realize the value of Skype for Business. It's key to understand that the quality underpins usage. If you deliver a quality service that delights people, then teams gain confidence and find new innovative ways of doing things that drive business benefits. The capabilities of Skype for Business range across group collaboration, conferencing, fixed and mobile telephony capabilities, as well as video and screen sharing. Users of various legacy offerings in these areas expect always reliable, highly reliable experiences. As such, it is critical to treat Skype for Business as a first-class citizen with other communication and collaboration investments, prioritizing real-time traffic on a peer level with voice, conferencing, and other collaboration tools. By taking these steps proactively, as prescribed in these slides, IT and end-user support teams will minimize user disruptions due to non-optimal configurations that can be avoided. Skype for Business Online is a real-time service, and there is more to do to achieve quality than just to turn it on. Besides the technical design and implementation, it is critical to be prepared to run and operate the environment. It's key to understand that when planning to consume a real-time cloud service, there are activities and outcomes that your project needs to take care of related to the preparation and getting your environment set up right to deliver quality, spending time to get the network and internet access set up right, for example. Adoption, thinking about how to create communications so that your teams understand why this technology change is being made and what is in for them so that they can drive the desired change and adopt the new platform. Ongoing management to ensure that quality and reliability are there delivered and that any issues introduced by your environment is rapidly detected and remediated. Some activities outlined here and outcomes are common across cloud services, like sync directories, enable licenses, etc. And some of them are unique to real-time communication systems such as Skype for Business Online. The operations guidance in this release of SOF covers what needs to be done, who needs to do it, and how you should do this. And all of this is really there to ensure that we are delivering the quality that supports the business outcomes that the customer is trying to achieve at the first place. The what and how part is covered in the Managing a High Quality and Reliable Service Delivery session. Please go to the Skype Operations Framework.com website and find the recording if you haven't had a chance to see that recording already. In this session, I will be talking you through the who needs to do it questions and show you how you can leverage SOF and the assets to find an answer to this, or how you can help your customers to find the answer to this question. Operations really shouldn't be an afterthought. Think about it, who will run the environment early on? Why is that important? This allows the time to adjust the plan if needed, build skills, or plug in some external support or partners where this is required. Also, you'll need operations in place as soon as the pilot starts. I've personally seen a lot of projects where the project team was supposed to run the entire support for the pilot users. While this sounds like an awesome idea because the pilot team, the project teams are already engaged with the customer, it turns out that this doesn't work out in any scenario really good. So it turns out that this might not work so well. Running the environment requires a different skill set. Not following the usual support procedures might cause issues to the end users because they were expecting something different. And also, it eliminates the chance to provide to prove that the operation procedures and support processes work before the velocity deployment actually starts. I've seen a number of projects and situations where the help desk was the very last one in the organization to learn about the deployment. Whenever the first, and they learned about the Skype for Business deployment, whenever the first user called the help desk for support. So it's really important to start operations early on and plan for operations during the design phase, because this enables you to have all these procedures in place to have the operations team support the users and the environment during the pilot phase. This enables you to use the pilot phase on the one side to make sure that the business outcomes are achieved, that the design is delivering the results you're looking for, but also it enables you and enables the operations team to prove that all the support processes and operational procedures that have been designed are actually working. And that they should learn this before the actual production deployment, the velocity deployment starts. We'll be talking about the operational roles in this training. These are based on our experience, and the expectation is that these roles should meet the requirements of most deployments out there. Please don't start to customize right out of the gate. There really shouldn't be a need to do so. We'll see more about this later in the next couple of slides. Let's start talking about what actually is this operational role mapping. As you all know, running a Skype for Business deployment involves various teams, not because this technology is overly complex, but because it is a real-time solution and we are dependent on various elements: the desktop and drivers, the network performance, internet access, and a few other bits and pieces. All of these things we talked about in the previous session are required to work fine to deliver a great quality. I've seen this in a past deployment. The deployment went fine, good progress, good collaboration with the various teams like network and security, desktop deployment, and all of them. When we then started the pilot and had some extended network troubleshooting to perform, it turns out that our contacts we worked with in the initial assessment preparation phase weren't quite prepared to provide the ongoing support and assistance we were looking for. They had to run additional projects and other work to do at the same time. For us, this introduced issues and caused some extended delays in the overall project, as we had to secure our support first before we could continue. The operational role mapping will help you to prevent these type of issues, as you will work with the various teams early on and agree on tasks and responsibilities that they need to take care of. Operational role mapping will help you to provide an answer to who does what question. The operational role mapping itself consists of 3 assets: a deck explaining the process that you can use to run the kickoff workshop with the customers or to get used to the process itself. And we'll see part of this deck in this training. There's a delivery guide walking you through the process and the prerequisites and the outcome. And then there's the role mapping tool itself, an Excel sheet. And again, we'll see a couple of screenshots and examples out of these material in this training. So what's the outcome of the role mapping? Why should I do this? What's in for me? What's in for my customer? If you're with a partner or if you have done a number of deployments, you'll probably recognize the situation. You're trying to troubleshoot a network issue on a remote site and need to find the person or team that's responsible to to help you with the wide area network. You talk to the network folks and they go, oh, no, wait, that's we do wired and wireless network, but the wide area network or all the WAN connectivity, that's not our area. So you need to start over and find the right person. The role mapping is there to help you avoid these type of situations. The result, the outcome of the operational role mapping, and you see it here on the screen, is a list of agreed tasks and responsibilities broken down by team. This list has already been validated and confirmed with the various teams you're working with, or with the external providers or partners that are supporting the deployment. Here's an example output. Here's an example output from the Excel. You'll see, please notice that there's a little banner. I've added this to all screenshots in all elements whenever I'm showing content that you can download from the SOF website. So the outcome of this is really that you're going to start the pilot and get going with the operations of the environment. And you shouldn't have any challenges to find the right teams to perform tasks or help with troubleshooting. What's the so before we get started here, let's briefly talk about the prerequisites of operational role mapping. So this is intended to be run after the Managing a High Quality and Reliable Service Delivery workshop. As this workshop talks about what needs to be done, what factors will influence the media quality, and what it really takes to make sure that your end users are happy with the solution itself. So make sure that this workshop is run. Also, if you have the Readiness Assessment questionnaire and the results out of that handy, that might be useful as an input here, but it's more as an informal thing that will inform you. It's not strictly or hard required here to use that. So let's go through the process of performing the operational role mapping to get used to the concept. So the operational role itself is really a construct where we have various roles that will perform a number of tasks. So a task might be, there's mover accounts that need to be moved and changed. There's some monitoring that needs to be performed. There might be some network, wide area, local area, Wi-Fi configuration, all of those things that need to happen. All of that is predefined for you. So that all of that comes with the Excel tool, and we have 60 or 70 tasks defined here already. Each task comes with a short description, a cadence, an effort estimate, small, medium, large type thing, as well as some links to further soft documents or other resources that you might find useful here. All of that is provided, and the task of operational role mapping now is really finding and identifying the teams or the partners that will help you to perform these tasks. So what you'll be doing here is really defining the teams. So in our example here, it's the UC operations team performing the role or the function of Skype for Business Operations with all the tasks associated. And then there's the network team or network security team, NetSec in my example here, that will perform all the network operations tasks. And then, there are more tasks and more roles, but this kind of is the high level concept. So you'll go with your customer, you'll be sitting down. We have this list of operational roles. You'll go through that and try to identify the various teams that are supposed to perform these tasks. Once we have that, so to do that, you'll be using the Excel tool, and this is taken from the kickoff deck as well as the Excel screenshots from the Excel workbook itself. So you'll be starting at the team details, and there's the team input tab. What you'll be doing here is you'll be starting to change the team names here. So I've added the UC operations and the network security team. You can specify whether this team is internal or whether this is a partner providing these type of functions. And you can add in some contact details, the email alias, maybe the queue if they're using your internal ticket management system, or any other contact details that are of interest here. Once that is done, you'll be performing the actual mapping itself. So on the right-hand side here, on the operational role section, you see the list of 11 predefined operational roles with a short description. And from the drop-down, you would just select the team that is supposed to perform this particular action. And this is a dynamic process. You'll sit down with your customer, you'll sit down with the various teams and decide on who's going to do what. Add the team names here and select them from the drop-down team. So that really shouldn't be a major issue, shouldn't really be a big task to perform. Maybe running the workshop and going through this initial assessment, initial association, maybe is a couple of hours only. As a result, what you will then see is really the breakdown per team. So for the network security team, we've identified 3 tasks that they need to perform as an example, and the UC operations, we have another 3 tasks. The reality is that the list is much longer, but for the purpose of this training, I've just used these 3 as an example. So we have that one. So we have the output on a per team basis. So we now know what the UC team needs to do. We now know what the network security team needs to do. The next part is that we'll now reach out to each team and share the list with them. So and by doing this, or to do this, again, we'll be using the Excel tool. The Excel tool will provide a list on a per team basis with the breakdown of all teams, of all tasks that need to be performed. So this list has the task itself, a short description, as well as a cadence there. So we will be using this team with this list, reaching out to each team, and let them know and ask them whether they are happy and to take on this responsibility while operating the environment. Because we want to make sure these tasks need to be performed, and we need to identify the person or the team that will deliver these type of functions to us. So we will reach out to the team. And the UC team might go, okay, that's all great. We are ready to support this. This is what we've been expecting, and we are already staffed and trained for this, so that's good. But it might also be that maybe the network team goes, well, you know what, the local area network configuration and the wireless network configuration, that's all great, and we can do the configuration as well as the troubleshooting. But the wide area network configuration, that's really not us. That's not within our responsibility. So we need to identify another team that can support us here, because it is a quite important task that need to be carried out. But we've now learned that this particular team cannot do this. So what shall we do? Well, we will go back to the operational role mapping. And here again, we have our team, we have the operational role mapping, and we now know that the wide area configuration and troubleshooting needs to be assigned to a different team. What you can then do is you will introduce a new operational role. In our case, it's wide area operations, and you can easily link the task of wide area network configuration and troubleshooting to the new role, and link that this new role to a different team. In our case, we will do that. We link the task to the operational role, and the operational role now can be performed, in our example here, by the UC operations team. So as a result, so how do we do this? Again, screenshots from Excel, from the tool itself. So I've added here in line 12, I've added in the one operations as a new role, and and after I've done that, I've assigned the team UC operations to that new operational role, and then I can go into the task and responsibilities list, which is really the list of all tasks and responsibilities defined, and I can then go ahead and map this particular task to the new operations role that we've created. And by doing that, all the output will be updated to reflect the change. So again, The list is updated. The network security team now needs to take on LAN configuration and Wi-Fi configuration, and we've moved the wide area configuration and troubleshooting over to the UC team. Again, we will reach out to the team and ask for confirmation. So they right now they're happy with that, and we have a confirmed list of tasks and responsibilities, and we're ready to go for to actually start the pilot deployment. Here's a screenshot of the Excel tool, of the output itself, where you can now see that the UC operations, the network own and adopt wide area network configuration has been moved over to that UC team. So here's a visual overview of the process that we've just done. At the start, we've added the teams, we've assigned the teams, and then there's a small cycle where we just make sure that we have defined a team for every role, and that this is done, and we'll go through that cycle as long as there are roles that have not found an owner yet. Once we've done that, we will reach out to the team, share the task list and the responsibility list with them, and ask for the confirmation. And this is really the chance for the team to agree or disagree, and also this gives the team the chance to plan for operations, to plan for that, think about resourcing and staffing. Maybe there's some additional training that's needed. Maybe there's a need that a partner needs to be onboarded, or that an existing support contract needs to be extended, or some other changes. So that's really the reason here for them to ask them for their confirmation, because then they know what they're doing today and what might be changed. So if the result of that review with the team is fine, you're done, and you can add this to your project documentation and to your operations runbook as a reference there. If that's not the case, you'll enter the lower process here, which is the customization, where we then can really go into and start the fine-tuning the role assessment. You can add additional roles if required, you can add additional teams if required, and update the task and role assignment. And you'll do this so that you can finally get agreement from all the teams that are involved here. The expectation is that the majority of the deployments, you should not need to go down the customization list, the customization route, but really the default role mapping should be good enough and should meet most of the deployments here. So the ask is really to start with that one and only enter the customization if that's really needed. So if you go through that one, you have the agreed list of responsibilities. The next step is then really to use the pilot phase to actually start with the operations and make sure that all the processes work, that the teams know each other, and they're getting on with the deployment and can actually finally support the business outcomes that you're trying to achieve by implementing the solution at the first place. So just for your reference, here's the list of predefined operational roles, service owners, and the things that you should be seeing. So there's Skype for business operations, there's some help desk and user-facing things, as well as some the typical other teams that you'll be working with: network operations, identity, adoption, change management, and a few other teams and roles that are needed. So if you go through that process and you've identified a couple of areas where you're not quite sure who can do this, or you haven't, the teams aren't set up, aren't really ready to support those type of tasks, or are not staffed, or whatever that case might be, this is a good chance for you to reach out and search for help, as we are still in the planning phase, in the design phase. find a partner that's able to support you in those various areas. And this is another quite important thing why we do this in the early planning phase, in the design phase, because we want to make sure to give all teams the needed time frame to plan and be prepared for the operations. Really want to avoid the situation where a project is done and you just kind of throw it over the fence and they'll get on with it because they're used to it. That's really not what we want to see here. So to summarize this session, and if there are like these three things that you take away from the session, is really make sure that you perform the operational role mapping during the planning phase. This is really the phase where we have the most influence to the project, where we really can set up and make sure that the project is successful. On the one side, on the design phase, of course, and the implementation, but also on the operations. We want to make sure that once the solution is implemented, that it runs fine at day 1, day 5, and the next 2 years as well. And this is why we really want to start and perform the operational role mapping during the planning phase. Make sure that you use the operational roles that you've identified during the pilot. Make sure that you've used this chance to verify that the support processes and operation processes are defined, that all teams can leverage the pilot to validate all of these processes, because it is a real-time solution. And if you are migrating from a traditional PBX or from some other solutions, there are some new things people might need to get their head around. And during the pilot is probably easier than when you're in full steam deployment or production already. And the last thing here is really to make sure that you start with the predefined roles, because the expectation is, and based on our experience, those will work in most of these scenarios, and there really shouldn't be a need to start with the customization right out of the gate. So to close out, as we said earlier, SOF is a living framework, and we continue to work on updating assets and delivering new offers. One key is really for us that we listen to you, that we get your input and your thoughts. So please give feedback, go to the community, share and discuss, and let us know what works for you, what doesn't work, what are the things that you like the most about SOF and the assets, what are things that you are missing, or what are the things that need to be changed. Here, if there are certain roles or certain tasks that you think that are missing or that doesn't quite work out, please let us know so that we can update the material accordingly. So with that, thank you for staying with me, and I'll hand it over to Ryan again.
Great, appreciate that, Martin. And before we get to our Q&A, we're going to be starting up our Q&A session here in just a moment. And as a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to ask a question, you can do so by typing your question into the Q&A section within the Skype broadcast player page there. It's either located on the right-hand side of your screen or by scrolling just below the video pane window, depending on your format and how you have your screen laid out. Now, before we get started with Q&A, though, I'd love to bring your attention to the link in the upper right corner of your viewing screen that says Event Survey. It's a link to a short survey that we have for this web conference, and we'd love to ask you just to take a few minutes of your time before you log out today. We hope that you found today's information very helpful, and if you enjoyed today's web conference or have any feedback on how we can provide you with a better event, this is your chance to let us know. Survey scores are on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest possible score. And so with that, Martin, I see that we had some questions that were coming in, and again, we encourage all those questions to come in now. But Martin, I'll hand things back over to you to see if there are a few that you'd like to answer.
Cool, thanks, Ryan. So there are a couple of questions here. So the first one is, so I'm dealing with small and medium-sized customers where I only have a few folks in the IT team, and I don't think I can find a dedicated head or a dedicated person for each role. What should I do here? So Sure. I mean, you can perfectly use this tool, and I would encourage you to use the role mapping tool provided here, because it's perfectly fine if you have multiple roles being performed by the same person. That's perfectly fine. You can do this in the tool, and this tool might help you to have this person or the team understand what they're be supposed to do to make sure that they are correctly staffed and are trained to perform this task. So even in that scenario, I think this tool might be quite helpful for you. So another question is, I'm a managed service provider. We have a package of service and offerings. How can we use this tool to fit our needs? So if there are specific things that are missing or that you are offering, sure, you can absolutely add them to the task list, and maybe you also let us know through the feedback channel so that we can think about whether we can add them to the tool as well. Use the tool to sit down with the customer and show them what needs to be done, and use this tool so that you can together plan for operations later on. The output of the tool then is probably a good source of information whenever you craft your offer or your statement of work. So on the one side, you then know what needs to be included in your offer, but also the customer knows, and you know as well what the customer is supposed to deliver. So what are the supporting functions that the customer need to perform for the service to run smoothly. And I think that's they're all questions so far. So with that, I'd like to thank you to listen to me. If you have more questions, please reach out to the feedback channel or see us on the in the communities. And with that, thank you, and hand over to Ryan.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Martin. Well, this will conclude today's web conference. Attendees, you may access the web conference recording via a link that will be delivered to you within about the next 72 hours or so. And would really like to extend a very special thank you to Martin Readiness today for presenting our content. And thanks for logging in today and joining us. This will conclude our session. You may now disconnect from this broadcast. Thank you so much.